introduction. Hi, I'm Doreen Goh, and I lead the SMB and mid-market business at Hewlett-Packard Enterprise. All right, so I hope everyone is staying well and healthy during this period of time. I'm actually very privileged to be here today to share with you guys some of the key strategies to survive and thrive in the new normal. At the same time, I'm also very delighted to have my special guest, Mr. Wayne Chiu, IT Infrastructure Manager for China Aviation Oil, to share with us his strategies in terms of enabling workforce productivity and security, as well as how do his companies thrive in the new normal. And last but not least, we have a Q&A. So these are the top concerns of our SME customers. Firstly, is on business survival. So how do I stay afloat during this period of time, improving my cost efficiency as a result of supply chain constraints as well as demand shock? So while my employees are working from home, how do I ensure their safety as well as productivity? And how do I, as a business owner, ensure that I prioritize my investments to where it matters the most to the company right now, while managing costs, conserve cash, and keep an eye on overall business growth that are projecting into the future? Last but not least, how do I increase customer engagement and continue to provide the highest level of support and services to my customers? So thriving in the new normal, working from home, how do you ensure productivity? Strategy number one, go digital. Even in times of crisis like this. So you heard from the government that work from home will continue to be the norm, even as we get out of the circuit breaker measures. And that's really because of safety, and we're seeing a lot of customers who are rapidly adopting these remote work practices and tools even today. And that's the reason why some of these key solutions, such as virtual desktop infrastructure, or VDI solutions, key telecommuting solutions, is on the rise among the customers today, as they look at ways to allow the employees to access the corporate applications and resources quickly and seamlessly. Right. At the same time, if you have remote workspaces or you set up temporary workspaces during this period of time, what you also need is remote access points to ensure that your employees have very seamless and flexible access to company applications. Now, talking about remote access needs, right? The other key thing that customers are concerned about during this period of time is IT management, because we know that data center access is highly restricted at this moment. So companies are thinking, how do I still ensure that my IT is up and running? Because all in all is about driving productivity with the workforce. So our IT needs to be up and running 24/7. There are remote IT management tools, cloud-based ones, that can really help you to manage this end-to-end remotely, giving you predictive analytics, preventive maintenance, so that you can remotely manage your data center in the comfort of your home. And that can help you to reduce storage IT operating expenses by as much as 79%. And we heard from companies like CapitaLand, Singapore's largest retail landlord. They thought about launching this new shopping online portal as well as a delivery platform to respond to customers' change in buying behavior, to complement their sales existing shopping malls. So the retail world is going to be very different. So what about your business, your industry? So we need to leverage IT technologies to look at automating processes, but also augmenting experience so that we can continue to delight our customers and respond to their changing buying behavior. Last but not least, digital transformation is not a revolutionary concept. It's really a set of benefits, right, we can yield by going digital, by aligning our IT to business outcomes, because IT is no longer just a cost center, it's really a business enabler. It's an enabler for business success, giving you higher productivity and agility. And research has shown that companies who are able to drive digital transformation are better positioned to capture opportunities in the post-COVID-19 world. So in a new world, new operating model, so how to be productive, right? We talk about tools, we talk about technology. At the same time, a lot of customers are contemplating, bursting their workload into public cloud. Now, it's really important to fully understand the associated costs of public cloud, right? So research has shown that the right mix of hybrid IT is very important, because it can give you as much as 40% TCO savings, because not all workloads are ideal for public cloud, right? Some workloads are more ideal on premise. So don't compromise performance, but you can achieve a very optimized cost savings of 40% if you have the right mix of IT. And financial flexibility is key, right? Anything that helps you elevate your pressure on cash is fantastic. So pay-as-you-go model can help you to conserve cash and ease your financial burdens. So I talk about workforce productivity solutions like VDI. So just go for any VDI solutions in the market, but look for VDI solutions that can help you achieve three things. One, cloud-like economics and agility. Now, in this unpredictable world, right, we are no longer in the same as we were before. The business dynamics have changed, right? The way we operate IT has changed. So how are we able to look at, scaling our usage based on business requirements and pay accordingly, so that ability to go pay as you go, having that economics is what we call a cloud-like economics and agility. At the same time, don't compromise performance, compliance, and control, which you can only get very much by staying on premise. And last but not least, peace of mind, because all your time and effort and resources should be spent now on driving the business, not managing IT. So go with the IT vendor, look at technologies that can enable workforce productivity, but at the same time ensuring that backend your IT management is fully managed. You have a vendor that help you to fully manage it end to end and deliver as a service. So you spend all your time, energy just driving a business and not managing IT. Now, strategy number 3, moving forward with financial flexibility. Now, for HP, we spent over $2 billion in financing to help our customers with COVID-19 challenges. So take, for example, you're a banking institution today, and you're thinking about rolling out AI initiatives or visual recognition at your storefront, okay, for example, because you want to talk about capturing new opportunities in post-COVID-19 world. Now, this is obviously give you unknown returns, right? There are risks, associated risks, and you want to mitigate the risk. So we don't have innovative financing structures, for example, deferred payment, which allows you to have, first 3 months acquisition of your IT equipment, you could run your proof of concept testing, to do your asset utilization, and you pay later. So that helps you to mitigate your risk, while doesn't compromise the digital transformation effort. Or you can start off with a reduced expenses, and then you pay later on over 36 months period. And also, if you're looking at, for example, you're a furniture company, is a very interesting use case. A customer I was working with, they are, looking at capturing new opportunities, post COVID-19, to go beyond their current set of target market, which is not just clinics, not just schools, but also consumers, selling new lines of furniture, to this end customers, consumers sitting at home. So they've introduced new product lines, new technologies, new marketing tactics, but you obviously don't need all the technological resources up front 100%. So you start off with 10% and then 20 and 30, so on and so forth. So you match your payment to you. So that mitigate your risk as you transform. And obviously you have existing assets. Now, can you generate cash from your existing assets? You can, while still retaining use of the asset. So HPFS, we does that for our customers. Now, firstly, if you have some temporary requirements, right, business needs during this period of time, you can always purchase or rent certified pre-owned technology equipment. And last but not least, I know, leveraging government grants. We're looking at, lots of grants and initiatives from government to help customers to tide through this period, productivity support grants, your enterprise development grants, and soon you'll see HP as have one of the pre-approved use cases, working with these agencies that will be made available to customers through these agencies for these grants. Last but not least, keeping safe, not just physically healthy, but also make sure your data centers, your IT infrastructure is safe. And that's because there's 140% surge in ransomware attacks in March over February 20, according to reports. So we're all busy rolling out remote workforce solutions. There are a lot of endpoints. Your employees are using lots of devices. So there are a lot of endpoints, areas that hackers can come in to hack into your data. Now, data is the new currency, right? Data is a new currency. Whether you're a business owner in finance, or you're in shipping, logistics, you're rolling out AI, robotics, or visual recognition, or blockchain. These are the new technologies as you look to transform your business. The fundamental idea is still data. So how do you ensure that you have the world's most secure industry standard service, right? End-to-end security approach is important to help you to protect your infrastructure, make sure you're able to detect at the point where the ransomware attack happens and quickly recover. So keeping safe is key. But all in all, I would say every customer is different. So it's important for you to know your top priority and align your strategies as such. And with that, nothing beats a real life experience and real life examples. And with that, I'm really happy to bring on Wayne, our IT infrastructure manager for China Aviation Oil, to share with us a bit more about his strategies, his tactics in terms of how they're coping with the current situation. So Wayne, thanks for joining me. Could you share a bit more about your company and the key challenges that you are facing during this difficult period?
Thank you, Doreen, for inviting me to speak in this webinar. I'm Wayne Chiu, the IT Infrastructure Manager of China Aviation Oil. As you, in the Chinese name is actually the 中国航油. So CAO is actually the largest physical jet fuel trader in Asia Pac region and is a key supplier of the import jet fuel to China civil aviation industry. So our business is focusing on jet fuel trading and other oil products. We have offices from Singapore, Hong Kong, London, and LA. So during this pandemic, we are definitely seriously impacted on this. I'll share with you some of the challenges that we have. So the first challenges I'll say that is the travel restriction. So it actually greatly impacted our business. So in the early part of the pandemic, travel restrictions to China is restricted. So I think at the earlier part, there's restriction only to China, but as the pandemic will worsen, so the whole world's travel has put to a stop. So other parts of apart from the Singapore and Hong Kong offices business is impacted. The London and the LA offices business are also impacted due to this travel restriction. So apart from this travel restriction, there's also another challenge that we face is from supply chain. So during the months in March and April, the crude oil prices fluctuate a lot. So that has a lot of supply chains issue with some oil trader counterparts being bankrupt and having a lot of problems with their cash flow. So I think that's also another big challenge that we have. So the last one will be how we're gonna switch to agile working, where some of our staff are in Singapore, in Hong Kong, in other subsidiaries. So how are they going to remotely to work from home? Yeah. So those are the three top challenges that we face. Okay. So that's the quote of the day that I'm going to share with today is actually is from Charles Darwin. So it's actually the topic about adaptable to change. So it's not the strongest of the species that survive, nor the most intelligent that survive. It's the one that is the most adaptable to change. So I think this COVID-19 has already changed our mindset and the way how we work and how business run. So I think it's important to really to prepare for the new norm. Next. Okay. So about digital transformation, I'll say that who leads the digital transformation of your company. So in normal times, it's usually the CEO or the CTO. But now in this pandemic, it's actually a situation that caused certain business to move into digital transformation. So I think we really hope that we are in the right path to move into this digital transformation. Next. Okay, there are a few methods that we can actually do embrace digital transformation. So we can actually solve some traditional problems with technology. I'll take a few examples. Customer focus, I think you can see there's a lot of apps that has been created recently to actually enable food delivery and all that. So I think it actually helps a lot on the customer experience. So on transformation, we can actually get the business owners to actually drive technology decision. So mainly from data analytics, you can see how the business is moving, and you can also monitor your supply chains on how are they delivering their services to you and how you are delivering your services to your customers. And the last part is more on integration with your current technology. So I'll say that you have your standard mode of business, but I think with this digital transformation, you might have an alternative mode of business that you actually have to integrate with your current one. Okay, next. So there are three pillars of digital transformation which I want to share. So the first one is actually mindset. So I think advise us to change our mindset to understand what will be the new norm. So I think for business owners, I think they have to go back and to revisit their purpose. So I think to embark on digital transformation does not mean that you do your business differently. So you might have an alternative path to doing your business. So how you will actually challenge your current business model, and how you're going to bring this digital transformation into a long-term plan, and also accept some short-term pains that you're going to overcome. Because I think when we embrace the recovery in phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3, so that these are all the short-term pain that we're going to bear through until the road of recovery. And the last one is beware of the technology trap. So I think committing to a long-term technology, or working with your partners, you have to really decide what is your strategy towards the digital transformation. Okay, next. So once you have to embark on digital transformation, I'll say that process is important. How you prioritize and focus on what are the process, what are the things that you'll be doing differently when you embark on this digital transformation journey. So and to adopt agility. So there are changes as and when whether are you from the Ministry of Trade and Industry, or even from MAS, so you have to adopt with agility. So you have to move quickly with the changes and the regulation that is implemented. For a short period of time or long period of time, it depends. So I think how are you able to react to the change is important. So you have to be creative and also innovate along the way. So the last pillar will be on tools. So tools now with some cash flow problems, people will want to save their money, so they do not want to make it, they want to buy it. And but most importantly, you have to access different vendors. So are you going to embark on a sort of a hardware type of on-prem type of technology, or are you going to go on cloud, or to work with a service provider, which I think they have different forms of service that they can. So it's good to have to synergize with them than to do it all on your own. So the step-by-step approach is important. How you think that you actually integrate best with your current business. So one of the important part of technology is to measure what are the technology, what are the KPIs of the technology, how can the tools be helping you in understanding your business and growing your business. So I think I'll take an example of our storage that we China Aviation Oil use from HPE, which is NIMBLE. Next, you can see from the NIMBLE has this analytics tool, INFOSIGHT, that can actually give us a lot of information about your storage, how well is your storage running, and what are your capacity plannings, and how are your VMs running on the storage and all that, and how are the VMs interacting against each other, and yeah, so and the data latency and all that. So I think it's important that understand your requirement and select the right tool for your business. So preparing for the new norm, I will have 6 recommendations on that. So the first one will be create a detailed relaunch map. So my example is on SIA retiring the Boeing 777 and the Airbus A330 fleets. So I think they understand that going forward, the demand will be different. So how are they going to have retiring the old type of planes will be better for them going forward. So I think there's some roadmaps that they might have lined up for themselves. And also the next example is actually on CAG Group. So the Changi Airport Group has suspended Terminal 4 operations and consolidate them into T1 and T3, while T2 is undergoing a renovation. So going forward, they understand that keeping the operation in Terminal 4 will be a lot more costly. Why don't we actually consolidate into the other terminals for the time being, until when the passengers pickups and travel bans are sort of released, then they can actually resume the operations very quickly. So I think there's also a news pretty recent that Singapore is already in talks with the China Civil Aviation Authority on a green channel type of travel back to and fro from China and Singapore, and also Singapore is also discussing with Australia and New Zealand about opening their travel restriction. So things are moving ahead to the recovery. So the second recommendation is actually ensure customers about the safety of their products and services. So I think my example is actually on contactless delivery. So I think people are aware that that there might be a transmission through contact with the hawkers and the people, food delivery people. So they have this contactless delivery mode. So the delivery person will not need to interact with the hawkers and also the customers. So third point is on safeguard the health and safety of the employees. So in China Aviation Oil, I think we emphasize a lot on this. So we do have our own facial recognition system that can actually do facial scanning, but on top of that, we are actually enabling a function called the thermal scanning. So employees entering the company will actually be scanned. If their temperature is above 37.5, they will not be able to allow entry into the office. So that's the company's mandate on that. So the government also has been doing their part on the safe entry digital check-in. So which we also embark on that there will be a system for staff and also visitors to log in when they enter our premises to facilitate the contact tracing. Okay, next. So next 3 point will be shift IT and technology to restart mode. So my example is on hawkers, yeah. So I think or restaurants. So I think in the food industry, they are heavily impacted because there's no more dine-in available, so they can only focus on takeaway. So if you are only doing takeaway, is your business sustainable, or do you need to go and look for another alternative path? So I think collaborating with online delivery service provider will actually help them to increase their revenue and also continue to provide the service to the customers. So ultimately, it's actually increasing the customer loyalty. So once we the lockdown has been released, I mean, we are able to dine in, customers will be able to actually go back to the restaurants and the hawkers, yeah, and all that. So the next point is rebooting operations and supply chains. So I think during this pandemic, there's a lot of things. I think a business that will be put to a stop. So certain suppliers will no longer be able to provide their service. So I think we business owners have to understand that we have to go and look for alternative supply chain in order to fulfill our current business needs. So I think looking at another alternative supply chain is always important. So last but not least, sustainable value creation born from crisis and reinvesting in recovery. So in the early parts of the pandemic, people we are scrambling about on the face mask. There's always a shortage of face masks. So currently, I'll say that I think that there are people innovative enough to have a sort of different type of shield protection instead of the mask. So it's actually creating value in this recovery. So I think there's different designs of a face shield and different design of a mask to actually make you wear it comfortably, yeah, for the kids and even for the older generation, the senior citizens and all that. So I'll say that in industry are innovating. So because of the situation, so there will also be industry investing on safe travel accessories. So I think how are we going to equip that in the new norm? Okay, thanks. So in early this week, I think DPM has already announced on the fourth budget that on the digital transformation and innovation grant. So I think the business owner here will actually those who wants to know more can actually go into the Ministry of Finance sites, then they can actually embark more. There's also a National Innovation Challenge. They also encourage partnership with private sectors and industry led solution to open up Singapore safely. And if you want to know more about other grants on EDB, you can actually check with Doreen. Okay, thank you.
Thanks a lot, Wayne. That was really insightful. Now, it really resonates with me. I really like your pointers there, especially you talk about how COVID-19 is really the one that's driving digital transformation. In fact, we just read that studies from Ecosystem Pulse study, for example, they talk about for Singapore, in fact, 54% of the customers during this point in time are really looking to accelerate digital transformation or refocusing the digital transformation initiatives to really capture new opportunities post-COVID-19. And really the fact that digital transformation and workforce productivity is not just about technology, also about people, about processes, tools, and importantly mindset. So Thanks a lot. That was, a very good sharing, fantastic. So HB here is here to help in continuity for business, safety for employees, for the community, and I talk a lot about remote workforce productivity solutions. So check it out, feel free. At the same time, we're happy to connect in any point in time. Thanks, Chris. Back to you.
Thank you, Doreen. Thank you, Wayne, for the insightful sharing. So we will now, before we go into the Q&A session, right? So I would just like to bring up the poll again, just to see, because I think some people may not actually participate in the poll. So I'll probably just trouble my colleague here to bring up the poll so that everybody can actually give us some comments. So I'll just kick off with the first questions over here. So I believe that now with everybody working from home, right? So I think it was quite a last minute kind of thing when we enter into the CB. So I think everybody was scrambling, the announcement was made on Thursday and it was actually implemented the following Tuesday. So I think given this time, right, whereby everybody's working from home, Wayne and Doreen, do you see a data explosion from both your sides in terms of cloud storage from Doreen where you're managing your customers and Wayne for your internal users? Then with this kind of a setup, right? Then how are you, especially for Wayne, how are you dealing with this data governance whereby everybody's working from home and has certain access, right? Is it easy to still maintain that restrictions for data control and stuff? Yeah, both your thoughts, please.
Okay, I'll take this question. So I think right before the pandemic, I think I have to explain that our business is very global. So I think most of our staff will be traveling around with a laptop. So I think we have this data backup strategy that when people travel, they tend to remote access in, and once they remote access in, sometimes they would like to export their data locally. So we have a VPN tool for them to remote anywhere, even in China. Yeah, and also we do have that backup software to actually do backup into the cloud. So just in case that they lose their data, they can actually access the cloud. And once sometimes, most of the time, they will want to have their data on their laptop to have fast mobility. So I think for that we might have to do a little bit more on synchronizing their files back to our own file server. So we actually traditionally to have 2 to 3 copies of the backup of a single file. So I think leveraging on cloud, we definitely have that. We also have a on-prem backup solution.
Yeah, Wayne, it's I kind of agree with you more. In fact, we have a lot of customers at this point in time, looking into more backup solutions, as part of their digital transformation strategies. At the same time, making sure that this work from home continues to be productive. So you make sure you have backup, storage, and customers, as I mentioned earlier, some of them are thinking of bursting into public cloud, Chris, to your point. But really, the important takeaway, I personally think, is we need to fully understand all the associated costs of public cloud or even on-premise, right? And really having a hybrid cloud strategy is really the way to go, because certain workloads where latency matter, right? Speed matters. That's where you probably won't put it into public cloud. You'll probably run it on-premise. So there's certain workloads that's optimized for on-premise, certain workloads, maybe you can run on public cloud. So what is the right mix? And when you achieve the right mix, it can help you to reduce your operating costs tremendously. But also importantly, this COVID-19 period, right, really brings out the thoughts among our customers, buffer. Because all of a sudden I have explosion in terms of data storage. Where is the buffer capacity? And now, Chris, you well pointed out that supply chain is a problem, right? The global supply chain has been disrupted. So how am I going to get all my parts, my hard drives, etc., right? But I think that's the key part, right? Having the buffer is important. That's where we have things like HP GreenLake. For us, for HP, this is not a new challenge that we've heard from customers. In fact, years ago, data, people are looking into new digital transformation initiative. Data is new currency. So to have the buffer capacity is what we have built in as part of our HP GreenLake as a service model. So you start off small, right, with 10% or 30% of the capacity, and then as and when you need it, right, we give you, you can use that, you can tap into your buffer capacity and pay for that buffer capacity. So having that buffer to cushion you, to tide you through times like that is critical. And then pay as you go to make sure you have a financial capability and flexibility. So flex up, flex down whenever you need it. This is the financial, the new business flexibility ties in with IT for this kind of situation.
Thank you for the share. Thanks for answering the questions. I think it's very well covered. So over here, I think one of my key challenges over here is I cannot imagine an SME, right? If they're actually operating on-premise systems, suddenly if things break down, how are they supposed to work right now? Given that supply chain is disruptive. So have you faced such situations like your friends, your customers, or whatever? Can you probably share the experience? Like how are they coping actually? Yeah.
For in China Aviation now, I think we do have a stand. So I think we do consolidate most of our data in Singapore, which is the HQ. So I think for remote access, I think my guys will actually have to remote access in to actually to check on the problem. So leveraging on cloud will be something that we who are preparing for the new norm. So there's only a partial of information on the cloud. So until we see that if the performance is up to our requirements, business requirements, so then we can actually move more things onto the cloud.
Okay.
And I always think, prepare for the worst. It's not just about, this time, but this time is a good reminder for, everyone. When it comes to remote management, it's not just having remote tools, right? I think Wayne shared about the HP InfoSight, so you can remotely manage your IT infrastructure without having to access the data center. But at the same time, you need to have tools that give you predictive analytics, preventive maintenance, for example, right? The tool is able to tell you even before you hit the issue. I will tell you that you have a storage capacity issue as you hit the next 1 week, for example. I will tell you that certain parts are going to fail, right? So even before you know it, it might be so intuitive that a vendor who sits behind this tool, in the case of HPE, when we run InfoSight, we give you the predictive analytics to tell you that, a similar customer in the other part of the globe, because he's running this firmware, that same firmware version as you are running, and therefore you can hit the same issue. And we come in with a support person to help you resolve it even before it happens, even before it hits you. So if preparing for crisis, I think that should be the mindset that everyone needs to have. Make sure that you're aware of tools that always prepare you for tough times like that.
Thanks for the Alan, Doreen. Thanks, Rain. Okay, let's move on to the second question. I think as we know, right, circuit breaker is ending next week. But as the government has actually advised, most of us are actually still advised to be telecommuting from home. So I think there's always a key challenge over here in terms of IT support. So Wayne, how are you coping with IT support during this circuit breaker period? And also for HPE side, how are you able to respond to your customers requests and everything during this period in time as well? I mean, how prepared are both your sides in actually engaging your internal stakeholders as well as the external ones? Yeah.
I think the most important part is in terms of the communication. So we need to really get in contact with the users who's having a problem. So I think we do have our own internal communication platform. We also embark on an external one. So I think at both ends. So I think we get connected because for my IT team, we are actually supporting not only Singapore office, we also support Hong Kong, London, and then also LA office. So I think we are very into this remote access assistant type of practice. Yeah, whether it's a different type of language that people that we are supporting, we are, as long as we are connected, we can actually help them.
How about Doreen side, your customers?
So I'm glad. Yeah. I'm glad that at this point in time, HPE is labeled as essential service. So in fact, our support team is still operating very much, going down to our key customer sites and being there to help them resolve critical issues at this moment in time. And I would say that this is really the silver lining, right? So personally, I'm very touched, with the fact that we are given the opportunity to help out customers at this time where their workplace is highly restricted, but we, being essential service have the ability at this moment to go help them tide through this period of time to solve the critical issues so that they can continue to operate, continue to allow the workforce to run and be productive. I think, HPE, we are very privileged to be here for customers to tide through this time.
Okay. Thank you guys. Okay, so I think right now it brings me to the situation whereby there's so many tools in the market and everything, right? So given the scenario right now, let's say if both of you are, let's say if Wayne, you're working in the SME right now and you just have to drop everything and just work from home, right? Let's say starting from scratch. What are the tools after experiencing this circuit breaker, right? If you were to redo everything and go back again, right? What are some of the tools that you will have in place to make sure that you are better prepared or better prepared for COVID-19 related situations? I'm bringing you out from the China aviation oil kind of setup, assuming that you are setting up your own business and you're actually managing your IT. What are the 3-4 things that you feel that you need to set up in order for your business to be able to work efficiently during these COVID-19 like situations?
I'll say for a new start, I think embracing the cloud is important. I think because you do not have a burden of having a lot of data. So I think to start small, then you will be very agile then as you grow. So I think picking a sort of a tool from the cloud. So there are a lot of cloud-based type of tools that you can actually embark on, and actually the commitment with them is actually very little. So I think you can start small, then you can grow as you pay and all that. So I would say that I think leveraging cloud and get yourself connected at all times is the most important, because I think even if you want to start with an on-prem setup at this moment of time, you will not get anywhere. So I think embracing the cloud is really the speed to technology.
So just now you mentioned tools, right? So what are the 2-3 tools that if you're starting your own business, straight away you would think of implementing without any thoughts?
I would say definitely is Zoom. I have been using Zoom since 2 years ago, before they even got listed. So I think Zoom is something that helps users. I think there are some scrutiny done because as the usage rises and all that, that there are a lot more hacking events and there are some more security frauds. Showing out. So, but I do believe that they are sort of a simple, straightforward tool for people to engage themselves. And I think I see a lot of whether is it entrepreneur using it, or even the educational using it. So I think it's quite of a simple tool for people to kickstart their business.
Okay. So for Doreen's side, I just want to tweak the question a bit. So I think for the case, for your case, right, I was hoping if you can actually share, let's say if for finance and HR department, which are usually, you need to be on-prem. So given a scenario whereby now during the circuit breaker to work efficiently, right, what are the tools you would actually strongly recommend SMEs to have, right, so that the HR and accounts can actually function securely, fast, and reliably?
I think firstly, I think that's a key reason why telecommuting solutions like VDI comes into place so nicely during this period of time. The whole
Can you
idea
explain
is
more
that,
about VDI actually? Because I think the people over here, the attendees may be more business in nature, so they may not know what is VDI. Yeah.
I think in layman terms, it's basically allow you to have secure access to data that sits with the company. So while you're sitting at home, you have a secure access to the company resources. So Chris, you mentioned earlier about some of these HR documents. These are highly confidential, right? So to have access to these data and to some of the in-house applications for the company, you want to access it from home because you're operating at home. For example, you are a designer, graphic designer, right? So those applications, if you want to access those apps in particular, right, how do you have a secure way of accessing those applications? So VDI will enable you to have that seamless access plus secure access. So it's fast, reliable, and it's secure, right? So that's where VDI comes in.
Just to add on this part, I think most of us are actually operating on VPN, right? How is this VDI different from VPN access?
So I think VPI for sure, it's much bigger solution, but definitely VDI is one where it's more mainstream. For sort of the mass market usage. VPN, you do need many VPN servers to be able to run this. For VDI, it's definitely more tuned and set up geared for a smaller deployment.
Okay. Thank you for taking the question, both of you. Okay, we have a question coming in. You say work from home is now the norm. How can company make sure data being accessed outside the office is secure and safe? Doreen, you want to share first?
Sorry, Chris, I got cut off a little bit. So you're saying access the information secure and safe, is that right?
Outside the office is secure and safe.
Okay, I think, firstly, there are a couple of things, right? Security, I think it's a very big topic there, right? So how do you ensure that when your employees, for example, is working off-site, and they are plugging in things like thumb drives, etc. These are all potential loopholes, right? Entry points for virus to attack, your system. These are areas where there are potential areas of vulnerabilities. But it starts off, backend in your system, in your own data center. Firstly, it needs to be secure, right? You have a data center, some servers that's hosting all the applications. That's the point where we will start, right? To ensure that end to end, your system is secure, because it's protected. Whenever somebody inserts something into your data center, a ransomware, for example, that's where your server is able to detect it. So you'll be informed that your system is being hacked. You can detect it and you can recover it quickly. So end-to-end cybersecurity protection is in place, and it doesn't need you to spend incremental dollars always, right, to ensure cyber security. Because if you look at the world's most secure industry standard servers like HP Gen 10 servers, it comes to built-in a chipset, right, which allows you to protect, which is a fundamental technology to allow you to detect, protect, and fully recover. This is unique to us. And this is no incremental cost, because we believe that security should not be compromised as you scale digitally. Then at the same time, in terms of networking, right, how do you ensure that your network is secure? That we also have our own robot technologies to ensure that piece is taken care of.
Thank you, Doreen. So over to you, Wayne. Any thoughts besides using VPN to have a safe access from outside office? How do you actually guard against DLP?
Okay, we embark on a few type of technology, DLP, and also device control. So I think ultimately the laptop is sort of locked down. So you practically can't do much when you are logged on to the laptop. So exporting files, importing files, you really can't do much. He has to go through the sort of a safe channel and encryption on or your hard disks are all enabled and all that. So that's how we sort of lock down our laptops, like the way the government lockdowns the whole COVID. So practically the office corporate laptop is only for corporate use, which I always advise. When the first day I issue them the laptop, we will actually have this note that we have to tell them what they are supposed to do and what they are not supposed to do on and offline.
So what are the tools that you have actually implemented in such endpoints to actually protect? Yeah.
The endpoints, I think the DLP we leverage on the McAfee. So it's a DLP and the device control on top of antivirus software. They also do encryption on the hard disk itself. So I think a few more functionalities on the same software. So I think the build the laptops built are all the same. So I think there's no compromise when we issue out one of our laptops out. So only actually the administrators have the access to actually allow or to amend the policies. So there are strict policies that has been set up for laptops, the management staff, the managers, and the rest of the staff.
Okay. Doreen, so anything to add? Because I think for this access from external, right, I think one of the key issue is we are all accessing from our home access points. So I think, is there any sort of concerns that we have between, mass market kind of routers at home and the enterprise type? Is that something that we need to take note of in terms of the home router and stuff? Yep.
Yeah, definitely. So I think for enterprise grade, and especially if you look at some of these access points in the market, one of the key things that we've been in touch with a lot of customers about, to your point on their concerns, right, is having this remote access point with some central subscription, right? We do have solutions like from Aruba Access Point that allows you to easily deploy a standardized home networking solutions, which has this smooth interoperability with corporate devices and also have full support end to end. So the centralized visibility management and this very easy deployment of enterprise standard SSID to remote users, and there's proper supportability, and you have the option to add on 4G dongle, for example. And this basically allows you very seamless access, end of day, to the corporate devices and to your corporate applications while having the full support from the vendor, and you're able to do so securely. Right, so remote access point, that's where we see customers today, a lot of them buying a remote access point. Is a very small piece of device actually from Aruba, and you basically bring home or you bring to your remote temporary workplace, and you can just put it at home, right? So that is a device that allows you to have very secure connectivity, from your corporate devices back to your corporate network.
Okay, so just in layman terms, can I say, am I hearing correctly that it's some sort of a black box that I'll bring it back home? It's already pre-configured with certain security. All it does is you connect to the home network, but after which, security-wise, it's actually managed by this black box itself for connection back to the office.
Exactly. So
Okay.
and throughout this process, the security built in.
I see. Can. Okay. So let me check. I think we have one more question over here. So will you just read it out and see whether both of you have any thoughts on this? Usually hacking does not start in the data center. It starts in the endpoint. Can you share how to protect the endpoints? So just now, I think all of you have actually mentioned about the AVs, the DLP tools and everything, right? Is there anything else you want to add on to this question actually on protecting endpoints?
I think well, we do have some user behavior analytics tool that they were actually which we installed in our laptops. So they actually track the behavior of certain laptops doing certain unusual things than the norm. So that they might be doing some scanning, they might be trying to check for some passwords or save password or cache or something. So this is not a normal person would do. So I think there might be some telltale sign that there might be some hacking system. So I think those are the behavior that normal users won't do. So I think we have that tool to actually do tracking and actually call back to the HQ to actually quarantine this PC and to block the connectivity. So because I think we have to understand in our normal days there are a set of rules and things that we do, but even in COVID we will not be doing that sort of activities unless we have an ill intention. So I think those are the tricks that hackers intruders want to penetrate. So they won't just come in straight from the door. They'll try to go into the fence, try to climb somewhere or whatever. So I think they will stay low and until that they are confident to go in and penetrate into the network where they get all the administrators' password and access, then they will start to go in. So the first part is really surveillance and wrecking the whole the areas. So I think this will give us some telltale sign that are we having a breach or going to have a breach going forward.
Okay, so we've become we have actually overrun quite a bit. So I'll probably just share the polling result for the poll that we ran earlier. The question was areas you think your IT is unprepared to handle the changes caused by COVID-19. So I think over here, right, probably I think we can probably I just rely on the two experts over here. Probably just to share advice over here. It seems that IT processes and governance is actually featuring very strongly. Followed by scale and capacity of existing technology solutions. So probably your final thoughts on these 2 points. Yeah.
I think on IT process and governance, I would like to add is whether is it COVID or non-COVID, this is the law and order. Whether are you in China or not in China, you still have to follow the same way of accessing our network. I will not have another different method for you to come in to do or some other laptops to actually allow access to it, because it's not secure and it's not issued by our company. So we won't be allowing that. So I think the process, as much as we can, we try not to change, but I think there might be minor changes that we have to discuss definitely with the stakeholders, the business owners, and if it is only for temporary measures or during certain period of time, then we have to maneuver this change. If not, I think process and governance will be the same throughout all the times.
So can I say is you must remain even more steadfast, but if there's any relaxation of the rules, right, there has to be accountability somehow.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. How about skill and capacity of existing tech solutions? Before I hand over the time to Doreen, any final words on this?
The scaling, I will say that this scaling
cloud,
capacity, right? It is not always go cloud, but I'll say that you have to have a period of time to measure. It's not just because of these 2 months and 3 months. I think the road of recovery might be different. Even you see the SIA retiring certain flights. So I think that you really have to understand what mode of recovery that you embark with. So then you can actually plan accordingly.
Thank you, Wayne. Thank you. How about Doreen, your side on the 2 pointers highlighted?
I think IT processes, the common buzzword now we're hearing among customers is automation, because IT is no longer cost center, right? It's really about how to enable business success. At the same time, this whole end-to-end IT process, how do I automate it? And the quicker you're able to do that, the more time you can actually elevate, right, from your sales force to be productive, to channel time and resources to focus really on driving the business. So automation, I think, is key. So looking out for tools from software, from vendors, like HP, to provide you with the automation of IT processes so that you have entirely peace of mind. Everything is managed for you end to end, managed for you as a service. You just pay as per your use. I think that's the key part that will help us to transform, allow us to be more nimble and agile, and end of the day, be more productive. And then governance, for sure, to me, is a lot of compliance thing we have to deal with. Data sovereignty, for example. So putting everything to cloud, is that really the right answer, right? Because you have to look into compliance and governance. And I obviously don't think that's a good strategy if you're looking at everything public cloud. And then of course on scalability, capacity, I think data explosion is so real, right? Looking at buffer capacity is important. Managing it end to end, having buffer capacity so that you can scale and pay accordingly as and when you use it. At the same time, making sure that you comply with the governance and compliance because your solution is on premise. I think end of the day, this is what the best of 2-3 roles that we want to achieve, right? Having that capacity buffer to scale, pay as you go, at the same time being on premise so that you have control, you have the compliance and achieve on premise type of performance. I think those are the key takeaways for me.
Thank you, Doreen. Thank you, Wayne. Thank you both for the insightful sharing. I think personally I learned a lot from both your sharing. Especially, I think I appreciate Wayne for sharing from the industry perspective, right? I think your 6 recommendations, although all those observations is actually made from the aviation sector, but somehow if you actually map it over to the other industries, right? Somehow you can also relate and actually reevaluate from their individual industries as well. So I think from this session, we can gather that tools is also important. I think having the right person over here, having the right IT resource is one thing, but there's going to be, you need a lot of tools in order to make sure that people can actually work safely, productively when they're commuting from home or in all kinds of situations. So I think it's just that COVID-19 is actually helping out to actually speed up all these things. So with that, any final note from both of you before we end today's session?
I'll still like to emphasize on the adaptability to the change. So I think change is not only constant, is how fast we can react to that. So that the crisis will come an opportunity. So now we see the road of recovery, or whether is it a fast or a V shape. So we have to see what's our mindset towards change.
Doreen, final
For
words?
me, go digital, even in times of crisis. And there are vendors like HP here to help you to tide through with business flexibility and financial offerings to help you to even transform during this period, acquire the assets that you need. So don't stop. Yeah, keep going and stay safe.
Thanks, Doreen. I think I like the note on the financial assistance scheme part, because moving forward, I think everybody knows that cash flow is going to be a bit tight. So I think when everybody is evaluating your own IT expenditure, right, just make sure, like what Wayne has probably put out, reevaluate your IT strategy and see what can really move your business. Not just going for the bread and butter things that is settling the normal needs, but what is able to tide you over, with the kind of investment that you have. How is it going to help you in moving your business ahead during these times moving forward? So thank you both for joining us in today's webinar. I believe that the participants has actually picked up a lot from today's session. So with that, wishing everybody take care and stay healthy. So let's all hope to conquer COVID-19 together. So wishing everybody a great trip back to office if you're going back. Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you,
Thanks,
everyone.
Chris.